Thank you for tuning in to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress. On ThinkTech, we look for companies doing the next big thing, and our series is called NBT, appropriately named, and we actually have a number of guests today. It's going to be a very interesting show. Our first segment is going to be with Leong, and he's going to talk about kokua.org and an upcoming event that is geared for fundraising and professionals in the nonprofit sector. And thank you for joining us on the show, Evan.
Okay, thanks, Attila.
So tell me, what's going on? What's the big hoopla?
Okay, it's kind of funny because you already know what's going on, but
I'm going to pretend like I don't.
Okay,
How's that?
okay. Actually, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create collaborations between nonprofit organizations and for-profit executives. Collaborations that maybe not necessarily cash transactions, but getting people involved who weren't really involved before. We're just trying to see if we can scale up people helping each other. So where this whole thing came from was about 2 months ago, I decided that I want to just try and be helpful. And in order to do that, a question came about. And the question was, what's the biggest issue that you're dealing with right now that if it was solved would have the biggest impact on everything else? And I got all kinds of interesting types of answers. My first friend told me that, he said, I'm a CFO of a large company right now. I've been doing this for a long time, but I want to do something entrepreneurial because I want to spend more time with my kids. And
that's not a right choice, by the way.
Huh?
It's kind of the other way around.
Well, I don't know. That's just what he said. He said, I want to do something entrepreneurial. I want to have a little bit more flexible schedule. And I said, okay, let me think about that. And about a month later, another friend of mine came in town, and he said, I'm looking for someone with an accounting background to be my partner, an equity partner, to help me scale my business up. It would help if they spoke Japanese, but they don't have to. And we definitely have to meet in terms of cultural fit and so on. And I thought about it. Those two guys kind of popped in mind, made the connection between them, and they actually just started working together a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So
this conference is meant to kind of bring all that together?
No, what was happening is that as I started asking these questions, solutions just started popping up. And I thought and said, you know what if we could do this where we could scale up these solutions and have other people helping each other in the same fashion, which is, kind of what we call Aloha Spirit or whatever over here, right? People helping each other out. And if we could do that and go cross-sector, whether it's for-profit or non-profit or government or military, then we could really have something interesting. So at the first conference that we did a few weeks back at the HANO, which is Hawaii Alliance of Nonprofit Organizations, and because you're gracious enough to help us out at that, we went there.
We'd like to give back, yeah.
Right, we went there and we were just trying to see amongst the attendees, can we help them identify what their primary issue is? Can we help them identify something that they have to offer? Because, typically the people who have the most to offer are the ones everyone tends to seek out and want to be around. And can we start, either helping them out ourselves, getting them to help each other out?
It's kind of like creating a family, right? You have the uncle who's really good at painting, and you want to bring him into the family, and you have someone else who's from somewhere. So you kind of is that what kokua is? Kind of like a big family.
It's kind of like these kokua experiences, these kind of deeper relationships that you get beyond just going to a networking event and meeting people. My classmate a few years back had I think it was either the second or third child, and the week after she gave birth, she went back home and was feeling sick. So she came back to the hospital. They admitted her, they put her in ICU, and they said, you have leukemia. You need a match, and you need it soon. And it's just kind of amazing how people came around this, because her son was in kindergarten, and the parents of that kindergarten class organized amongst themselves to make sure that the family had meals every single day for like a year. People were organizing fundraisers. The preschool was organizing stuff. I mean, it was, it's just a community kind of coming around to try to help somebody in need without really expecting anything in return. And that's what really makes this place special, although we don't really see it as much these days. it's something that people, I think, really want and they kind of seek out. And at the end of the day, it's what's important. So how do we take these types of experiences? How do we get people involved to start doing these things within our community that are helpful and give people a chance to give back and give people a chance to engage and do it cross-sector?
Now, is there a technology aspect here?
Yes, and as you know, there is. So what happens is you have 300 people in the room or so on at an event, and if we're trying to run it like we will at the Association of Fundraising Professionals this coming up week, next week Thursday, it's hard to manage, for let's say 100 or 200 people, what their issues are, what they can offer. So we put together just kind of a real basic system for it, which we'll be rolling out. And when people see that kind of the compiled list in there, they'll be tasked with who can you help out. Try and go out there and help each other out, and don't really even expect anything in return. Good things happen when you try to help others out.
And so we're not doing this through name tags. We're doing something else, right?
We tried to do the name tags. I think on this short notice, it's a little bit trickier because, one, I guess we didn't really have a printer and so on yet. But what we're going to do at this next function is we're bringing in 20 plus volunteers. Volunteers are typically executive level. Most of them either run or own their company, and they'll be going around engaging with the audience, trying to help them with their issues and seeing if they can connect people either within that network or within their own network, or just see how they can become helpful.
Well, but so I mean, I remember at the last conference you had sort of like a registration portal. Is that still going to happen at this one, or?
Yeah, but what will happen is instead of having like Ikaika and me, just like two guys and your touch screen, well, we're going to have like 20 something people.
Oh wow! And they'll all come and register on little laptops.
So they'll have like iPads or laptops, or they can do it on their phone, and then.
And you tell like what your skill set is and what you can offer?
It's more like, what's your primary issue? Like, so think about this, like what is the biggest issue that you're dealing with right now that if it was solved would have the biggest impact on everything else?
Well, I can tell you from a ThinkTech perspective, it should be nice if more people liked us on Facebook and told their friends about ThinkTech Friday. But that's just me. Tell me about yours.
So is that what it is then? Would it be you want to have more audience?
Sure, yeah.
And so on? So I think that's what we would put down then. Actually, that one would kind of work. We need to increase the audience for this show, whether it's through outreach programs or marketing or so on, right? Put that on. And then what is something that you can offer that could help someone else, maybe tangible or intangible?
Well, we're pretty good at technology, so maybe technology services.
Okay, so so we can offer technology consulting or services or mentorship. Maybe do a quick inventory of what people have currently and make some suggestions on it. You could put something kind of like that into play. And then if I could help you with it, I would. I think.
So how do they know in the big room of 300 people that this is what I'm looking for and this is what I can offer?
Once it goes into the system, and once you enter it into the website, which is for this one going to be AFP, so Association of Fundraising Professionals, afp.kokua.org, then it's just a real quick sign up. What will happen is they'll enter in their information and their answers. They'll get a quick email back with a link. That link will take them to kind of their admin page, and on that admin page they can either adjust their answers, connect people either within the conference or
So
outside and in.
While you're at the conference, you can see that list on your tablet.
Oh yeah, and everyone can see the compiled list over there. And the idea here is to try to start developing these connections and these relationships. So if I know that, hey, you know what, so-and-so may have an organization that is into things that are going on in ThinkTech, I would try and introduce them to you, whether it's through the system or not, and then see if maybe you guys might have something mutually beneficial, right, that you could work on, or maybe you guys might have, maybe it just might be you starting a relationship together, right?
Or I may know someone who can help them, and
Right.
second degree connection right there.
Because once you can start helping another person, your relationship goes to a different level. It goes to a deeper level, right? It goes from acquaintance to friendship to, good friend to someone they consider family and so on. And that's just kind of this kind of give and take, but it's really going out just trying to help each other out. So the software piece, hopefully people use it. Hopefully it goes full circle where we have in it, you help me, I can send you what we call a mahalo, thank you for helping us, kind of thing. And then, it kind of goes full circle.
Okay, cool. And after this conference is over, is that list going to be available for everyone who attended, so that maybe they'll think of someone the next day? Oh shoot, I wish I would have remembered that person.
Yeah, it will be. And what happens is after the last conference at Hano, I sent out the list the link to a few friends to see if they could help with it, because I had a number of friends that said, look, we would like to help with something. If it's something on your list that works, okay, great. So I sent it out to them. Email came back and it said, look, I can help this person with their computers. I said, oh, I didn't even see computers on there. And I looked back on the list and realized that somebody else had put the computers on there after the conference. So today is, November 7th? Mm-hmm. I know that a good portion of those computers went in on November 5 and flat screen monitors, and then the rest are going in, I think, maybe sometime next week or the week after.
It's November 8th.
Yeah, so,
We're losing it.
or November 8th, whatever.
Yeah,
my mind's going. But that's
I agreed with you though, so clearly.
Yeah, that's the basic gist was, they said, we have junky computers, we could use better ones. My other friend said, look, our company has computers in the closet, we're not using them, you can have them, I'll come in and help you put them in, and it's a win-win situation. Now they start a relationship, you have two organizations kind of.
So we're using technology, we're using events, and nonprofit to connect everyone together to kind of build these deeper relationships and to help everyone else out, right?
Yeah. What happens typically is in the nonprofit sector, if when we ask them the question, what they want is a board member that can raise funds. So they basically want money, and that's kind of changing, right? The big kind of whale type, big money bringer board member is very finite, and today's business people especially, they want to engage in different ways, but it doesn't mean they can't bring resources. It doesn't mean they don't want to get involved. They just don't want to do it in the other way. So that's why we have 20 plus volunteers, all community minded, coming there to see how they can help in the way that they want to help. So I'm hoping that people engage, build relationships, build collaborations, and create solutions.
I think it's going to work out. So you said the website was kokua.org, right?
Yeah, the front-facing website is kokua.org. If they actually went there today on Friday, we're still working on content. So if you see some lorem ipsum stuff, then it'll be changed pretty soon.
Learn to read gibberish, right?
Yeah. But for the fundraising professionals event going on next week, it's afp.kokua.org.
And it's accessible on any mobile device. It's mobile.
Yeah, any mobile device, any laptop, anything connected to the internet, you should have access to it. And if people are not there and want to try and help out or want to get involved, then let us know. Sign up on it and see if you can help somebody and get in contact with us. And whatever you can do to help out, we'll take.
Well, I love your cause. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing. And hopefully we're giving you that ThinkTech bump and you'll get some more members showing up because of it.
And thanks for helping us out, because you were like our first volunteer.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
And hopefully not our last, or not your last.
Definitely not the last. We have a lot of people in the pipe. So just trying to figure out how to deploy this thing properly and kind of do the most good.
Well, you have a good. All right.
Okay, buddy.
Good job.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We'll see you soon, Evan.
Okay.
Those of you standing by, stay tuned. We have some more guests coming in. We're going to have Mike Pfeffer and Dr. Cheung from Ocean It talk about some new technology and some fancy concrete. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel, founder of ThinkTech Hawaii. We are a digital media nonprofit that covers things that matter to tech, energy, diversification, globalism, and progress for our state, the state of Hawaii. We broadcast on community television and on Oceanic Cable Channel 16. We also stream our shows and interviews live on the internet as both radio and video, and of course we post them here on YouTube. We collaborate with the Hawaii Venture Capital Association to present monthly luncheon programs on subjects of interest to the business community. And we write for the Honolulu Star Advertiser. ThinkTech works hard to raise public awareness in Hawaii. Check out our website, thinktechhawaii.com, and come to our YouTube channel, ThinkTech Hawaii. We hope you support our mission and that you like our work. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
We're back, we're live, and you're watching ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress, and with us we have two very special guests, Mike Pfeffer and Dr. Cheung from Ocean It and IBIS Networks, respectively. Thank you for joining us on the show. Now, the first part of the show was a real serious part. Now we're here to party. So tell us all about your really exciting new technology that you guys are working on, and maybe start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm with Ocean It. I'm the S&T director. And at Ocean It, we're just very creative. We have very talented staff of engineers and scientists.
Wow.
And about 140 folks in all in several locations. And we just let them be creative. We do research and development. And when certain things kind of incubate and mature, we kind of tee it up. And then guys like Mike, who come in with some hard work and a little bit of cleverness.
And a mustache. The mustache is really...
Got the November stash going.
Yep, and then he takes it in and runs.
And so, what do you do?
So I'm Mike Pfeffer. I am a serial venture capitalist and entrepreneur. I was investing in companies for the last 6 years, and then talking to Jen and Pat Sullivan and Ian Kitajima and others at Ocean It about opportunities to take some of their great technology and spin it out into a private company and grow it. And we looked at the IntelliSocket.
What's that?
So this is a device that allows...
It came out of nowhere.
Came out of nowhere. They showed me this, and I literally lay up all night thinking about it. The next day I joined, said I'll do it.
Really?
And we spun the company out, jumped into Hawaii's Energy Accelerator program, and a week later we had a company up and running, and 6 months later we're just jamming on all cylinders.
So is this the IBIS network?
This is IBIS Network. So we are a energy management and data analytics company. So we help people manage energy that comes out of your wall socket.
Okay.
So think about that. So you plug your device into the wall socket and you pay your electrical bill every month, and it's not very smart, and you don't know how much energy is being used. If you put this in between every one of your devices...
Oh, it's like micro submetering.
Exactly. Micro submetering, smart grid. It creates a network. They all talk to each other, and then they talk up to the cloud and down to your iPad or what have you. And so every device you plug in, we can monitor energy consumption in real time for every single device, so you can start to do something about that, make intelligent decisions about your devices, and you can turn them on and off. So when you're not using everything at night, power them all down completely, and you really reduce your energy costs.
You know, I think when I was a kid, there was something that looked like an alarm clock, and there was a couple of these things, and you could turn off remote. So this is not new technology. But
so the idea's been around forever.
Yeah.
You can buy these at, not ours, but you can buy a version of these at the Apple Store or from Best Buy for your house. What's different about us, and what really attracted me to the technology, part of the genius of Ocean It, is the recognition that if you want to do it and make a real difference, you have to do it at scale. And so this is designed to be deployed for large enterprises. So 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 sockets. So for the Googles of the world, or large Punahou School or La Pietra, or any of these, the universities here, hotels and hospitals, everyone has hundreds of devices. And we found a way to make them all talk to each other and work at scale.
So this is, I think this is the next big thing. This is very smart.
I hope so.
Is there a way to maybe integrate it with the actual wall socket itself?
Absolutely. There are companies who make an in-wall version that's similar to what we do. We have intentionally not done that. The reason is there are millions and millions of sockets out there in buildings all over the country. They're already done. People don't want to spend a lot of money. I think part of the genius here is this is cheap and easy. We plug them all in. We've taken the technology risk off the table. We turn them on. We measure. We give you a baseline of energy consumption. You start turning things off, and you start saving money from day one.
Plug and play.
Plug and play, and so there's no upfront cost of having an electrician come in and change out your wall socket.
And is this, does this use Powerline Ethernet, or what is
So
it,
this is
wireless?
it's Zigbee. It's a wireless. It's a Zigbee-based mesh network. So it's similar
Zigbee.
to wireless, but it's its own
What is
standard.
Zigbee? I haven't heard of Zigbee.
It's a mesh networking protocol.
Oh, it is?
It's pretty mature.
Who uses it?
Everybody.
Everybody's Zigbee.
Zigbee, what's interesting about Zigbee is it's very, very popular. So some big examples would be most of the large PV panel guys. So the solar cities, every panel will have a Zigbee antenna on it, and they're all talking, telling the base station how much energy they're creating or not creating. You'll see a lot of lighting companies now that have smart lights. So if you think about making the lights above us intelligent, those will have a Zigbee antenna. So it's a very low power quality antenna that allows you to mesh up and, like your Wi-Fi platform, have devices talk to each other.
And it uses, I'm guessing, unlicensed spectrum. Does it interfere with any of your wireless stuff that you may have already in your home? Because I know that is a concern with some of these solar installations.
I think
The
it's
good
got its
doctor probably
own.
knows better. Sorry.
It's got its own slot in the bandwidth
Yeah.
spectrum. So it's a Zigbee.
It's like a
frequency,
Zigbee
yeah.
Yeah, Zigbee, and there's like 4 or 5
Like
channels.
Bluetooth, you know.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So very similar.
And then what's the range on this? How close does it need to be to the next socket?
It depends on if you're wide open. So if they have some installations where your line of sight, you might be 200 feet, 300 feet or more.
Oh, wow.
Typically, what's nice about these is that they're relatively robust through walls. So we've done installations with a large hotel here in Waikiki where we were able to go through very thick old cement walls at probably 75 to 100 feet.
And so this intelligently looks for the next available.
It forms a true mesh, so it'll find any socket and they link up, and then they'll all talk to each other and talk back to the base station and then punch out to the server.
And so the server is hosted with you
Server is
guys,
hosted remotely, and so there'll be a base station that serves as the hub, and then the information is sent out. So we're collecting all that information to help people do analytics and study what's going on. But the control is at the company level. So you can say, I want to turn these things off.
So tell me a story. Like after you put this in at the hotel, what happened? Did
I'll tell you my
did they go through the-
favorite story. Yeah, absolutely. We did an installation with a university here, a small pilot project. And we came in to talk to them, and we brought a socket. We said, hey, we got this socket, we're talking about it. And we said, hey, could we just install 10 sockets while we're talking? And they said, sure. And so we looked around and we picked 10 devices, and we picked 10 devices that we thought might actually show some real interesting data. And so we went on talking about what we do and this and that. And we said, it's been about 20 minutes. Let's look at the data. And we didn't even realize how lucky or smart we were. We had installed one of these on one of those window-mounted air conditioning units.
Oh.
And it was actually trying to cool their server room. They just put it up in the window transom, right? And it wasn't a very efficient solution, but it was just what they did, and they were
It's
going
the
along.
university.
Right,
Come on.
no, well, it wasn't, it was just a pilot project, and they had the cooler room, so they put a unit in there. It was a very efficient solution from the perspective of trying to cool the room. What we were able to show them was that air conditioning unit was using about $1,500 to $1,600 a year by itself of electricity. And so they started doing the math, and we have a customer. So that's actually one of the neat things about this. You plug it in and it works, and start sampling, every 15 seconds. And so 20 minutes later, you can actually go, well, this is how much energy these devices are using, and would you like to do something about that? It sells itself.
And so, is this competing with, say, those solar contractors who are out there pushing PV for your roof, or we're pushing PV for your roof, and you know, you can lower your bill by just being more efficient.
Be more efficient. No, we're not competition. I think the next however many billions of dollars you want to say of energy savings in this country is going to happen because of increased efficiency. And so whether it's air conditioning, lighting, or energy efficiency at the plug level, that's where you're going to see major improvements. So the Johnson Controls and Siemens of the world, these giant companies, they're coming in and retrofitting buildings and putting in systems, and new construction's getting more and more efficient. A big chunk of what we're going to see is just making things more efficient, turning things off when they're not in use.
And so this can actually turn it off.
This turns it off completely, and what you have is everyone understands there's some vampire charge or whatever, that things aren't completely off when they're plugged in.
Vampire electronics, like my
but
DVR, which is always going.
Exactly. A coffee maker, a Braun coffee maker in our office. We plugged it in, we looked at it. It's a very, it's a new device. It was using like 50 watts all the time.
50
TV,
watts.
TV drains a lot.
TVs, even while they're off. Those water coolers.
I'm getting this like tonight. I'm going to Best Buy if they have them, or I'm gonna mug you on the way out.
Right.
My electricity bill, I know, like you turn off the lights at night. You're like, oh, it's time to go to bed.
Go look at the thing.
Oh, you see going around. The little lights are on. Like, why is the microwave on? Why is this on? Why, what's it sucking up?
So you don't have to reset the clock every morning. I mean, that's.
Well, it's got a little 9-volt battery. Whatever the 9-volt costs that you have to replace every 6 months is less than.
Yeah, this changes your life. I mean, when I got involved, it was okay. Yeah, this is interesting, and there's a huge opportunity. And like you say, once you start delving deeper into it, you go, oh my gosh, we got to do something, and we can do something. And you start to scale that up, and you think about, well, my device doesn't make a difference. Well, those 10 make a difference. Those 100, those 1,000, those 10,000. You add it all up, and we're wasting a ton of energy by not turning things off.
Now, I'm going to get a little conspiracy on you. Why is your Braun coffee maker using 50 watts of energy when it's off? Is Braun in bed with the power company?
No, look, I shouldn't have singled out poor Braun. They're probably going to be targeting me now.
You're online. It's permanent.
I know, it's permanent. What happened, I think, is that traditionally, we never really had to worry about how efficient our devices were until maybe the last 5 or 10 years. And so, when we were paying $2 or $10 or even $30 or $40 a barrel of oil, making your electronic appliance hyper efficient wasn't a driving concern. Over the last 10 years or so, it's become more of a concern, and you get Energy Star ratings and all that kind of stuff. There's been a drive towards making devices more efficient, but that hasn't been a real issue until just the last few years, when people have recognized that we have more and more and more and more and more and more stuff plugged in, and yet we've never designed it to be to be off when it's off. And there are some reasons, some things you can't turn off, but there's a lot of things you can turn off.
Have you tried this on it? And I've heard this rumor, I don't know if it's true, that if you have a cell phone charger, it's plugged into a wall, and there's no cell phone attached to it, is it still draining power?
A little bit.
It is?
Yeah.
So that's true.
Bit. I think it's not very much. I mean, but it wouldn't be worth getting one plug to deal with, probably.
You can plug this into a
anything
power
that's
strip.
Plugged in, they're pulling a little bit here and there. A soda machine.
Oh, which one?
A soda machine.
Soda machine, okay.
A vending machine. Those things are cycling all night long when no one's buying soda.
Oh, cycling.
They're cooling the soda off all night long. If, say, it's on a campus or in an office building that's closed, it's sitting there in the hallway making cold soda. So it's not just the vampire charge. There's many devices that are designed to do something that causes them to use a lot of energy when nobody's there.
Another neat thing about a device like this is and we have versions for like refrigerators, bigger appliances. You plug in your refrigerator, and if there's something wrong with it, say the coils are dirty, or it's the motor's starting the compressor's starting to crap out, you can tell from the usage that it's not normal. So not only can you monitor how much you're using, but you can tell when things are starting to go south.
becomes a health monitor.
So can your software detect that and say, hey, time to change your fridge?
Absolutely. It's one of the things we're working on right now. Device health monitoring. Is your device healthy? Is it on or off? Because if your fridge goes off, you want to know, so we can send an alarm. But as Ken said, you've got we were building up a signature for every device, so that you can actually then keep an eye on it and say, oh, okay, the Freon's low, or the fan is failing, or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. You can look at a device and know whether it's healthy or not based on its electronic signature.
Well, I want to hear some more about this, but we have to go to a break for just a moment. So you're watching us on ThinkTech Friday. This is Dr. Ken Cheung and Mike Pfeffer from OceanIT and IBIS Networks, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
I'm Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association. We do monthly luncheon programs with ThinkTech about things that matter to Hawaii entrepreneurs, investors, and business service providers. So join us on the fourth Thursday of every month at the Plaza Club. For information about upcoming events or to join our mailing list, visit hvca.org. See you there.
We're back. We're live, and you're watching ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress. We're here with Mike Pfeffer from IBIS Networks and Dr. Ken Cheung, and we're talking about their new product, which I forgot the name for already. What is this thing called?
IntelliSocket. So this is an IntelliSocket.
That's using the Zigbee wireless mesh networking so that all your appliances can tell you how much money they're costing you, that's the thing that drives me nuts. I feel like I'm being had by my coffee maker, and I don't want that.
Just knowing is half the problem. Understanding the problem and being able to then make decisions about it is a big thing.
Well, I know like my cable box and my TV and like my clock radio, those kind of things. Clock radio.
Cable box really bad.
But if you don't have it on, you're not going to get your shows at 1 in the morning. So what are you going to do?
Therein lies the rub. That's a problem. I should note, to be perfectly clear, we are not focused on the household market.
I know, but I can relate to it.
But absolutely, there are other systems out there that do, and we really believe that a big part of this is education. And so when you start to see what's going on in your workplace, you can start to make decisions at home that really change things. And the analogy we like to use is when hybrid and electric cars really came out, 90% of the battle was putting an iPad-like dashboard in the car that says, hey, this is the behavior of your engine under these conditions. If you have your foot on the gas going down a hill, it's not very efficient. If you allow it to coast down the hill, it's much more efficient, and people change their behavior just because they're being exposed to the information.
It's true. My mom actually, she has an insight, and if you drive well, like a little flower grows on your dash.
Right.
So she's just like, I just want to make that flower grow and save the gas, and it works.
The creator of this, we should give him a shout out. David Sue is one of my engineers, very very clever engineer. In fact, some of the work he did originally was for Homeland Security. A version of this using Zigbee, little nodes or breadcrumbs would hop information for first responders in a building. So if they go in, they lose communication, they hop the data out. But this is derived from that research. So we can thank the federal government for being the first investor of this technology.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought.
Well, I wanted to follow up on that. David Sue is an incredible inventor. He's he's super well-rounded, which is rare in a super smart engineer. But they were funded partly with government funding, and then when we spun the company out, we raised a seed round of funding from angels here in the islands. We also received funding from the Energy Accelerator program managed by Don Lippert, Pictor, and we received $105,000 from Pictor and DBED. So the Energy Accelerator was just a huge boon to us. And they just announced yesterday that we've been selected again to receive further funding, non-dilutive federal funding, to help grow this company. So we would not be here today without the Energy Accelerator. They're just tremendous for the state. And the federal government is a real leader in energy efficiency and making this happen.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So David, when he created this, he also made a little, it's like a little light display, kind of like that Prius or
Little
hybrid
flower.
flower.
Yeah, okay.
But it would glow different colors depending on your how well you're using energy.
So it's green if you're within your parameters, and yellow, orange, and red. Called the Light Cube, and we've installed a few with schools for their classrooms to teach, and so they can set it and say, okay, this is how many watts are being used by these devices. We'll set that as green. If we leave these things on, it starts glowing red, yellow, orange, or yellow, orange, red. And so it's kind of a neat tool for the kids to see.
Creates anxiety.
Well, and they go, gosh, we're leaving this on. We better turn these things off when we go to the lunchroom. And so there's a tremendous educational feedback piece to this that we think is really going to help change.
Information definitely affects behavior.
Meanwhile, the chinchilla at nighttime is shivering because it doesn't have a heat lamp. But
Don't
saving
turn off,
electricity.
you know, kids' lava lamps got to stay on. I measured it, by the way. Those lava lamps, they have a little 15-watt bulb, and they draw 15 watts.
Oh, really?
Yep. So they're,
Less than a coffee maker.
less than a coffee maker.
Well, you had something else. Well, before we move on, by the way, I have to ask, what's the price point on this for businesses?
So one thing that we did that's very different, there are competitors in the marketplace trying to sell these devices to you as an end user. That means you're taking financial risk and you're taking technology risk.
Sounds like a sales pitch. How much does it cost?
So we don't sell these devices.
Oh, you don't?
We come in and install the network, essentially for free, small installation cost. We set up the network, establish a baseline. We make money when you save money. So we do a revenue share on your savings. So unlike other people who are trying to sell you $75 socket or whatever it is, we say, look, that's crazy. We don't want you taking that risk. We'll take that risk for you, and we'll share in the savings.
Which is better in the long run because everyone wins.
Yeah, and if you're a school or someone who doesn't have a lot of discretionary cash to spend on something like that, how are you ever going to make that decision? This way you get to test it, use it, and if you're saving money, then we both win.
Interesting. I like it.
But wait, there's much more. No.
You can
about the knives?
Yes, exactly. But wait, if you order now, you can
That's
get
right.
two, right?
Yeah.
Two for the price of one. My wife and I always joke about that whenever we see one of those ads. We're like, "Where's the
132B Pooh Holly Road or whatever it was, right? The Ginsu steak knife.
Well, speaking of knives, you have something that I don't think a knife can cut through.
Yeah.
Wait, you brought it in.
Well-
Whoa, look at this. Came out of nowhere.
At any given moment at Ocean, we've got probably 50 things going on. And we're constantly looking at what's going on and seeing if it's ready for prime time. So the telesockets, obviously, it was, and made its decision to launch that. So this is something else we're working on. It's kind of in that mode where it's poised to take off at some point. But what does this look like?
It looks like a tube of some sort.
Slug
Yeah.
of concrete, and,
Okay.
and in fact, it looks exactly like normal concrete, but we put in a little bit of a secret sauce in this thing, in the mixture. It's an admix that changes the quality. Depending on what you put in, you can get different behaviors coming out of it. So, for example, you could add a certain mixture and get maybe better durability or performance out of this. But the neat thing we found is when we add in some nanomaterials.
Nanomaterials. What are nanomaterials?
Very small scale chemistry. So, for example, carbon nanotubes. You might have heard of. Those are very, very small nanometer sized tubes. And if you add some of those into concrete and disperse it well enough, it kind of profoundly changes its characteristics. So for this sample, the nanotubes have made it convective, which means that if I put a current through it and put stress on it and it strains ever so slightly, the electric signal changes.
Really?
And we can measure the loading on it, or whether it's cracking, or what's going on with it.
Also, you run current through the concrete, and you can tell what the quality is like, or the temperature, or
right.
what can
Or
you
the
do?
weight of something on
The weight
top
of
of it.
something. So it becomes smart.
Really?
So imagine
Smart concrete.
Imagine a highway where you're measuring the weight of semi-trucks or vehicles. Imagine a sidewalk where you're measuring if someone's walking on it, or if there's a bicycle or a car drives on it.
Wow.
So security applications, the freeway weight
Safety.
application, safety.
So the ground you're standing on can literally feedback, give you feedback about.
You'd be watching you, yeah.
Can it generate electricity anyway from all those
that-
cars putting weight on it?
That's a great idea, and we've looked at that. There's an effect called piezoelectric effect where a force can create an electric current and vice versa. So it's possible that if you made this concrete mixture piezoelectric, that car driving over it could create energy.
And we
But-
could be more efficient with it with these smart.
Yeah, there you go.
Whether
Smart
it makes
sockets,
sense
yeah.
Closed
financially,
system.
we don't know.
Yeah.
It might be too expensive to do that for the power to get out.
Yeah, no, carbon nanotubes seem to be a hot item. Have you heard of Covetic? It's the new stuff where they put carbon nanotubes with aluminum to make ultra thin aluminum conductive wire. Well, you're an engineer, you know more about this. This just sounds like science fiction to me.
Nanotechnology is kind of like magic. It's pixie dust that you sprinkle and you get magic coming out of it.
So what else are you guys doing with carbon nanotubes that, other than making smart concrete?
Well, we are we got a lot of smart chemists and scientists and engineers working on it, but we're creating new types of paints that heal itself.
Self-healing, yeah.
Self-healing paints.
Yeah, like a clear coat that if you scratch it, you can add a little bit of heat, like a hair dryer, and it'll heal itself.
For like a car, for instance.
Could be for a car. Yeah.
Wow. Or airplane.
Or an airplane,
Yeah.
or a hull of a ship.
Oh, yeah, because they're hitting reefs all the time.
Right, right.
Well, or
Hair
stuff.
dryer's all you need.
There's so much junk in the ocean that they're bumping into all the time.
Oh, especially now with
Fukushima and all
Yeah.
that.
The secret to do this is you've got to find an application that the military cares about, because they are the #1 biggest investor in early stage research. They'll take the science risk all day. So if we tailor, say, the paint toward a aircraft carrier hull or any kind of warship, where if they take damage, it could corrode or it could increase
I
the
see.
drag of the ship, it would make sense. So if they invest and solve that problem, then we can then do what we call a dual use application, where we take the military technology and then kind of pivot it and use it for commercial needs.
And so, what does the military want to do with concrete?
Good question. One that Mike has already mentioned is perimeter security. So
Oh, I see.
if you go to a
To a base or
say a
something?
base
Yeah.
or any
Got to
maybe
be a super ninja to get across that concrete.
Yeah.
or a temporary encampment, and you don't want to set up cameras and tripwires. You just put some tiles down, or you make the pavement out of this material.
Well, I want to hear more about it, and I'm sure everyone else does too, but we do have to take a break for just a minute. So we have Dr. Ken Cheung and, of course, Mike Pfeffer here with us from OceanNet and IBIS Communications, IBIS Networks, IBIS Networks. And stay tuned, we'll be right back after this break.
We want to thank our underwriters. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
We're back, we're live, and you're watching ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress, and in our segment, NBT segment, next big thing, we're looking for the next big thing, and with us here is Mike Pfeffer from IBIS Networks and Dr. Ken Cheung from OceanIT, and let's see, Mike had the awesome which has disappeared. Yes, the smart socket. The smart socket is something you plug in if you're a big company.
Yep.
You plug these little sockets in, and it shows you how much energy you're using. And then after a few sleepless nights, you start to turn the lights down and swap out some of maybe those old air conditioning units to start saving some money. And unplugging the coffee maker, of course.
Well, just turning it off.
Yeah. Or just,
You just turn it off from your iPhone or your iPad, and you can turn off all the things you want to turn off without unplugging anything, which means you don't have to like.
You could really mess with someone. If I had this in my home, I would just say, well, let's see, you're watching too much television. Off.
Right.
There
So
we-
that's one of the reasons that, this we mentioned was built for the military. It's built to military grade security specifications.
Oh.
So we can actually put this on military bases, and they are very stringent when it comes to putting wireless mesh networks on their base. So it's very difficult for someone to hack in and turn your stuff off.
But possible.
But anything's possible.
But
The
they're more
NSA
likely
is
to-
listening to us right now. Everything's possible.
Well, as long as Braun isn't listening,
Right,
and
yes, yeah.
we're criticizing their coffee makers.
That's gonna haunt me forever. I
No,
know.
they just need to make more efficient coffee makers. You've caught them at something. That's what it is.
One of the things I've started doing ever since this technology's been around our office is I turn off my monitor when I walk away, because when your computer monitor's on, it draws probably twice as much power as the CPU alone.
Really?
Yeah.
How much money does it cost to run a computer? Do you know?
Computers we don't do so much because there's a lot of software solutions to managing them, and you have a lot of updates. But just to give you some flavor for your average black and white copier in your office copy machine, anywhere from 25 to 55 cents a day in Hawaii in standby mode. Not printing anything, just sitting there.
So if you average out, what, 30 cents, 35 cents a day?
Yeah.
So if we do 0.35 times, say, a 30-day, oh boy, here we go. 0.35 times 30 days, $10.50.
There you go.
10, 11 bucks.
10, 11 bucks sitting there. So another good example
That's lunch.
that we like to use is, we did a program with one of the hotels here in Waikiki, those little brown refrigerators. Everyone's seen those little fridges. Sometimes you use them, sometimes you don't. We did a floor and studied them for 2 weeks. Your average healthy brown refrigerator, not in the sun or in an enclosed cabinet recirculating on itself, in Waikiki is using 25 to 30 cents, 25 cents a day. Just sitting there.
Wow. So it's roughly the same.
So if you have 1,000 rooms or 2,000 rooms or 5,000 rooms, and you add that up over a year, that's a lot. So we're looking at green programs where, just like if, the hotel says if you hang up your towel, we won't wash it, it saves you X amount. We're saying,
I
look,
saw
if you
that,
don't
yeah.
need the room, if you don't need the fridge when you're staying here, click on this and we'll have it turned off. You can always have it turned on by calling down, but if you don't, you're saving 25 cents a day or this many kilowatts and X trees and all that. So
Smart.
there are ways to really educate people and incentivize the hotel owners and managers to do something that they never would have thought of, because if you're just turning one little fridge off, it's a giant hassle and you're never going to do it. But if you can just push a button and turn off all the fridges that are in rooms that people aren't actually currently staying in, it adds up.
Well, you can make smart decisions with devices that are actually, this is really, it's sensor technology. You're sensing what's going on. And same with our concrete here. Have you guys thought, now, I've heard that we've had some road and bridge problems here in Hawaii, but all across the country also. I see the guys working on it. Is there any way that this technology would help the city be more proactive about keeping our roads from giving me a backache every time I try to turn a corner around here?
Well, for sure. I don't know about backaches, but definitely saving lives. It's
Saving lives. That's
it's got a lot of
better than
potential.
backaches.
Right.
You might remember that catastrophic bridge failure in Twin Cities a few years back. The entire bridge collapsed. Now, I don't know if it was due to concrete or not, but
Let's just say it is.
let's just say it
Good
is
for your investors.
For concrete infrastructure, especially structures, if you can tell beforehand, say months or even longer beforehand that the structure is starting to fail, then you have plenty of time to mobilize and get the funds that you need to fix them.
It's less costly, if you put a sensor in there.
It's all about information. They talk about the Internet of Things as everything becomes smart and starts to communicate. Oceanet is bringing that. First, it was with this IntelliSocket, where now we've married up the wall socket and the device and allowed you to communicate and look at it. with the nanite, you could go in and in real time analyze whether or not there are cracks in the bridge structure that need to be repaired or worried about, and how much load it could handle, and how much load is going over it. They probably don't even know. So this stuff is pretty amazing. I mean, I think the nanite's going to be a huge win for them when they spin this out.
I got to be honest. I thought carbon nanotube, just the ability to create them, the cost has just fallen down. It's much cheaper now. So this shouldn't cost astronomically high anymore.
Yeah, and the
right?
loading is very low. I mean, you can't even tell appearance-wise. If you had a lot of nanotubes in here, it'd turn completely black. So the loading is less than 1% by weight.
Oh, so it's very little.
Yeah, even I think even a fraction.
Fraction. So this isn't an expensive technology. It's just needs to be
Right.
done.
Well, if you're going to do tons and tons of concrete, it'll add up. But they
certainly a
spend a lot of
business.
money anyway on additives.
And well, so why don't you just tell me if you've rolled this out anywhere, if you have a story to share as we wrap up the show here.
Well, it's still under development. We're tweaking the formulations. So we've done a couple of pilot projects, learned a lot from them. The latest thing we're doing is talking to the oil and gas industry. If you remember that big blowout in the Gulf, BP
Yeah.
was because of cementing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's their wells. They need to cement the casing as well as the plug. And if it doesn't cure, or if it's not spread evenly, then you can have catastrophic failure.
And that was a huge failure. We're going to see the
Still
fallout from
painful.
that for a generation.
Yeah, I
Or
think
more.
it's thousands of years. Well, so let's save our planet. Let's get smart concrete. Let's get smart sockets.
Yeah.
And let's make it all happen. All right. Well, you guys are doing really good work. I'd really like it if you guys could come back on the show as you guys get updates.
Sure.
And
Happy
maybe
to.
share some of that paint. I'd really like to experiment. Maybe I could paint my arm and then put a hairdryer on it and see what happens.
Hey,
Right?
next time we can do a demonstration.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I think Jay's jumping up and down. He's getting nervous. He doesn't like liquids in the studio, but we'll save it for next time. Great. Thank you guys so much. Of course, with us today on the show was Dr. Ken Cheung. He's with OceanEd with the smart concrete. Was that it?
Nanite.
Nanite concrete or just nanite?
Nanite.
We'll just call it nanite. Got it. The next cool thing. And Mike Pfeffer with the smart sockets, and that's with IBIS Networks. And also the next big thing. So very cool stuff. Of course, if you missed any part of the show, hit the rewind there on your streaming player, and join us every Friday at this time slot from 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. And of course, I am your host, Attila Seress. I'll leave with my famous tagline. I have a tagline. I don't know if you know that. All right. So it's of course, enjoy life, do good to others, and have a great weekend. Aloha, guys.
Awesome.